Hey, Milwaukee. Thanks for joining me tonight. We're going to talk about the Queen's Gambit. No, I don't always do Facebook Lives with my Chihuahua, Frankie, but apparently she wants to get in on this tonight. She was whining down by my feet, so I'll just make no never mind, or do, feel free to ask her a question. Feel free to ask me a question or to give an opinion or just say anything that you want. The chat's ready for a man and for me and for you. And I would love to hear what you think of Queen's Gambit. As you probably know, it seems like everybody and their dog is watching the Queen's Gambit. If you haven't watched it already, I presume you have but if you haven't already, someone has probably suggested to you that you watch Queen's Gambit. You probably have suggested to people that they watch Queen's Gambit. We're all just basically watching the Queen's Gambit. That's what's going on in November of 2020. This led me down the path of why are we all watching the Queen's Gambit? What is going on? I don't think it's because the thought of a 7-part series about chess is that riveting. I do play a little bit of chess. I do like board games, and yet there's really not a bone in my body that feels like I want to watch 7 hours about chess. However, it's not really about chess. I mean, that's the fascinating thing about the Queen's Gambit is it's a movie about chess that's not really about chess. I know that's pretty deep, but true, absolutely true. Basically, today I published an article that I came up with 5 and well, actually 6 reasons why I think we love the Queen's Gambit. And I ended it with one reason why maybe we don't love the Queen's Gambit so much, or why it's been brought to my attention that some people don't love the Queen's Gambit so much. And I thought it was a really fascinating perspective. So we'll talk about that too, but we're going to give it a whole bunch of praise to start out, and then we'll go from there and see where it leads us. But for now, let's get ready to worship the Queen's Gambit because it is good. I don't know about you, but I watched it in about 3 days. I'm not a huge binger. I usually take my time. And a lot of times I watch things after they've been popular. Like a couple of years ago, I was like, hey guys, have you heard of this great series called Mad Men? And I did think about Mad Men during the Queen's Gambit because of the mid-century setting of it, of course. But anyway, the Queen's Gambit was just absolutely binge in hysteria for me, and something that I really, really wanted to see how it was going to play out. Ren wrote in, she said, I love it, brilliance, and truly enjoyed. Absolutely. I enjoyed every minute of it. One of the things that I really loved about it, and we're going to start out with an easy one because it's kind of a no-brainer, and that's the fashion. Absolutely adored watching the fashion in the episodes, as obviously she got a little bit older. When she was younger, she was wearing the plaids and the uniforms, still very stylish. The way that the entire thing has the whole show, the way that it's shot, very stylistic. But also her fashion really obviously took a huge leap as she became an adult. And of course, the more money she made playing chess, the more she was able to afford just a modder and more snappier, I'm trying to think of 50s words, wardrobe, and just unbelievable. I loved the hair scarves. I'm not sure that I came up with this, but today I wrote that she wore her scarves in such a way that they were called statement scarves. I always kind of chuckle when I see the statement necklace. I don't know why. I know it's like they've been around now for years, but I've always thought like the word just seems so, I don't know. Ooh, I'm making a statement with my necklace. Well, she, to me, was making a statement with her scarves. I loved how the pieces hung down really long. And I don't know. I might even try to rock that myself. We'll see how it goes. I really loved all of her tops and all the collars, different colors that she had. I loved her coats. I just absolutely loved watching her change. I loved when she wore jeans and sweaters. I just thought the wardrobe on her was perfect, and on everyone around her as well. I just couldn't get enough of it. And the aesthetic went beyond the fashion for me. The aesthetic of just the whole series, as I started to say earlier, just the way it was shot, just absolutely beautiful, absolutely just so gorgeous that we could see all of these really rich colors, and plus that she traveled to these exotic places. It was just so much to take in, as was the decor. Mid-century, and by mid-century, of course, I mean the 1950s and the 1960s. That's when the Queen's Gambit took place. That is such a unique and extremely striking time in decor. And it was just, again, I bring up Mad Men. I hadn't had that much fun looking at the inside of houses and apartments since Mad Men. But Queen's Gambit gets the award for funkiest, grooviest wallpaper. No doubt about it. I know wallpaper is back. I recently wallpapered one of my living room walls, but nothing at all that was quite as wild or colorful as what they had in the Queen's Gambit. And I just really loved seeing all of the details of all of the decor. And it was also a reason why I think we loved it so much, was because I brought this up earlier with the travel aspect. When Beth, who is the protagonist, the main character, I'm talking to everyone here as if, because I presume that we've all watched it. I presume that everyone here knows what I'm talking about. I'm not giving a lot of background information about it. The Queen's Gambit, it's on Netflix, 7 parts. #1 Netflix show since 2 days after it aired on October 25th or whatever. Just appealing to people who've never played a game of chess in their life, appealing to men, to women, just absolutely blowing people away with its popularity, and people are really talking. But I'm not really talking too general about this because I want to get into some of the nitty gritty. And the travel is another reason why I think people really love this show right now. And that is because a lot of us haven't traveled because of the pandemic, or we haven't traveled as much, or we've traveled differently. Maybe we've traveled by car instead of by plane. Maybe there's just been some sort of change in the way that we move around the globe because of the pandemic. And seeing hotel rooms again, the insides of hotel rooms, seeing the planes, the inside of a plane again, seeing her get to go to these extraordinary places. I mean, including 1960s Vegas, not to mention Paris and Moscow. And you see her going to these places, and it hurts. It hurts to see it. It's so appealing and painful at the same time, because I want to travel, and I'm not personally going to be traveling during the pandemic. I know these things are all very personal decisions, and we all fall a little bit differently on the spectrum. But I know that I won't personally be traveling for a while, and so it was painful at times to see to remember what it's like to travel, and that excitement, the excitement of travel, and the anticipation in an airport, and walking into a hotel room for the first time, and checking it out, and the ice bucket, and all of the details that go along with the hotel. I just really, really, really long for that. And I make it positive. I try to say, look, I look forward to when I will travel again. My son moved to Montana to go to college. I've never been there. I can't wait to go to Montana and visit my son. My partner and I, we love New Orleans. We've probably gone 5, 6, 7 times together, and we just can't wait to go again, and we will go again. But right now, it just seems like travel is really out of reach. And also it's a financial thing. People are struggling. People are struggling with money, and travel, isn't at the top of everyone's list right now. But the travel is part of the escapism of the Queen's Gambit. And the escapism is what we need right now so much. We really need to feel like we're getting away, because we're not really getting away. I mean, we're in our houses a lot. And no matter how much you love your house and you love that deer painting you have on the wall, you absolutely, still long to see art that's not on your wall. Let's face it, right? Susie Kennedy. Hi, Susie. Beth is my age. I love how appropriate the fashion was. Great show. I'll watch it again. That's interesting, because I was thinking about that. I am not usually a person that watches a show again. Once I've seen it, I'm good. But let me bring up Mad Men again. One of the few shows that I've watched twice in its entirety, and it has a lot to do with my fascination of the mid-century, just the whole thing, the whole mid-century vibe. And so this, again, not only because of the aesthetic, but some of the other stuff we'll get to soon, I too may watch this again. So I'm with you, Susie. Someone is here for the escapism. Oh, Carolyn, yes, you are so here for the escapism with me. I know, it's just, we need it. We deserve it. We love it. And, again, if we're not traveling, we want to be through the screen traveling with those who are. Another reason why I thought that this show was really, I just really hit the sweet spot for a lot of folks, myself included, is that it was a celebration of passion and of intelligence. Now, we'll start with the passion thing. Beth Harmon loves chess. She's obsessed with chess. She loves chess more than most of us love anything. I mean, don't let Frankie hear that, because of course she couldn't love chess more than I love Frankie. But she loves chess so much that it has completely shaped her life to a point that her purpose is very clear. Her reason for being on this earth is clear. It's to win and be the best chess player in the world. I mean, for most of us, we don't really get that. We don't get a chance to be that good at anything, or to have something that we are so overcome by that we just relinquish everything, and we move towards the magnet of what it is that we want and are supposed to do. I really long for that kind of a need, of a desire to do something. I mean, I love to write, and I've been a writer since I was a little girl. And I have to write every day, but still, the way that I am about writing is a passion. But I still felt like the passion that Beth experienced was still on another level, and I was a little bit jealous, because I want that passion. I do. I don't know what that accent was, and I am just gonna interject and say I was surprised by Queen's Gambit that they did not have southern accents, southern drawls, whatever. It takes place when she's not traveling. Beth is from Lexington, Kentucky, the character of Beth. And my father was born and raised and went to 4 years, got his bachelor's degree at University of Louisville. And I have a lot of family and a lot of friends from Louisville. And I want to say that nobody on the Queen's Gambit sounded like they were from Kentucky. Nobody. So I was curious about that. But, small detail. But hey, that's why we enjoy these kinds of conversations, right? Is to bring up the small details. But anyway, the passion, I just long for that passion. And I just loved seeing it. I love seeing anyone. I love when people are into what they're into 110%. And that's the way I've raised my kids. That's what I've said to them all along. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you decide to be a doctor or a truck driver. Just do it 110%. I mean, you choose a doctor, then you're going to be the finest doctor in the land. But if you choose truck driver, you're going to be the most awesome truck driver in the land, because you're going to do it with passion. And this was just the epitome. The Queen's Gambit is the epitome of what it's like when a person is passionate. Now, there's a dark side and a downside to it, and we will get to that. And don't think that I'm ignoring that, or I know that's there, and I too live with demons. That is the flip side of passion sometimes. But it was wonderful to see, because we don't see a lot of, particularly women, just driven with passion for something other than a relationship, shall we say. And that was really refreshing. I also love that it was a celebration of smartness. And I just feel, wow, Queen's Gambit was taking place in a reality that I feel I have not been a part of for a while. And that is where intellect is sexy. Intellect is glamorous. Intellect is the it thing. Math and science, as we see through chess, we see through the other writers that are in Queen's Gambit. Math, science, just academics are valued in the Queen's Gambit. I value these things. I don't only value these things. I think life is full of experiences. I think there's all different kinds of intelligences, but I think that lately intellect has been one that's been flushed down the toilet, or as something that just isn't looked at as the true fruit that it really is, and that it's there for the picking for anyone. You can just crack open a book at any time. It's just so easy. Eat a peach, read a book. But I also felt that the show was so respectable and so honorable. And I loved that about it. It was, whether they all wanted to win. Beth wanted to win. All of the men wanted to win. Obviously, everybody wanted to win, and they were steely and they were mean sometimes. And they were, mean mugging and giving faces and all that to each other, trying to, psych out the other person, or, taking a timeout, till the next day to finish the match, just to, again, try to change make the other person nervous or throw them off their game, literally. And yet at the end, when one person finally won, which was usually Beth, it was so respectful. There was a handshake. There was a genuine warmth. There were words of awe. There was, people saying to her, I never thought that, that would happen, or saying that, or in not so many words in their face, or the things that they did say to her were so kind. And just so, it's like they were proud of her. And I also don't feel like we always live in that world, where competitors can be really good friends, and people who lose can be good losers. And being a good loser, and of course, I'm not talking about anyone or anything here other than the Queen's Gambit. Absolutely not. But when you lose something, you got to concede. You got to say, I lost, but you got to do it with style, and you got to do it with grace, and you got to move on. And then you're truly a winner. I mean, it's cliche, whatever. I'm corny. I'm going to go there. But it's true, because the largest people, as we all know, admit when they've been defeated. The biggest people admit when they're wrong and say, how can I fix it? How can I move forward? I made a mistake. You own it. And Queen's Gambit really reminded me of that, of what it's like to be a good loser. And again, I just haven't seen much of that lately anywhere. It's been a tough, few weeks, right? For everybody. It's been a tough year. It's been a tough. Things are tough. Frankie thinks so. I think so. I'm just yakking away here. And again, if at any time you want to ask me a question, you want to tell me what you thought about the Queen's Gambit, you want to chime in on something that I'm talking about, love to circle back, love to talk, love to hear what you have to say. Or if you disagree with me, please. I love when people disagree with me. But I guess one of the last things I really wanted to touch upon that I think really, really hit home for a lot of us, and why contributed to why we really, really, really loved the Queen's Gambit. So many of us did. And that was that it broke down stereotypes, or it just didn't even let a lot of stereotypes exist. It wasn't even trying to break down stereotypes. Just the stereotypes simply just didn't exist again in this reality. In the Queen's Gambit, the world of the Queen's Gambit, there were not the same stereotypes that you and I live with every day. I mean, first of all, Harmon, well, without talking about we have to go back a little bit with the stereotypes to say that she had her demons, right? We mentioned that before. She was an alcoholic, pills, problems. She was addicted to winning. She had a traumatic childhood. She was given pills from a very young age at the orphanage to keep her sedate and agreeable. And she basically carried addiction and wrestled with addiction throughout her entire life. This is a huge part of who Beth is. This is a huge part of how Beth started playing chess, because, she hallucinated a board on a ceiling after she had taken a bunch of green pills. So it literally, chess for her and drugs went hand in hand. And she knew that, and she had to break free from that. But the reason I bring this up is because it was so not stereotypical how the writers, how the director, how the actors handled Beth's addiction, and handled the fact that she was never just the down in the dumps, lost everything, and then rose from the ashes. No, she did have her periods. Of course, there is particularly one period, I think it's like the 5th episode, where she's really low. But basically what she did is she got really fucked up. See, I didn't totally say that word. I kind of like said it in a way that you can't really tell that I said it, because honestly, I don't even know what the rules are for On Milwaukee with the Facebook Live. I know I podcast, I can say whatever I want, but maybe I'm not supposed to on Milwaukee Facebook Live. I don't know. So I didn't really say it. I was kind of like marble mouthed it. But anyway, she got really messed up and at one point, but for the most part, she pushed through it. Thank you. Carolyn says I'm fine. So I'm just going to be dropping F-bombs left and right and right and left, because Carolyn said I can. So yeah. But she, her addiction was such that she just pushed through it. And I've been there, where you don't hit rock bottom, where you just keep going and, call it high functioning. Megan, it's on Netflix. They swear exactly. If they swear on Netflix, I can swear on an On Milwaukee Facebook Live. I totally agree. But she just somehow is able to have both. She's able to have her addiction, and she's able to have her success at chess. And that's a scary place to be, because high functioning drug addicts, high functioning alcoholics, are people who, just can push through and are able to have it all. There's no real reason to quit. I've been there. I've gone in and out of unhealthy relationships with substances, and mostly with alcohol. But, it's just, when you hit rock bottom, at least you have like a reason, or you mess up all your relationships, or you lose your job. Then you're like, okay, I need to quit drinking, or I need to, quit smoking crack, or whatever you're doing. But when you're able to push through it and still make it more or less, on top, that's a really difficult decision to make, to quit. And I think that that's also something we don't look at very often in narratives, because we often see it just more as, this story about someone, they drink too much, they do too many drugs, they ruin their entire life, they fall apart, and then they quit, and then they rise from the ashes, as I stated. And they're just like this whole new person. And it's kind of puritanical, and it's kind of judgy, because really, they weren't terrible when they were on drugs or drinking or whatever. But maybe I'm getting too far away from the whole thing. I mean, anyway, I love the way they handled the drug issues, not only with her, but also with her mother and Megan. Yes, many women of that period had addictions, so it was historically accurate as well. Many women, no matter their circumstances, were shown with bags of liquor in the show. That is very true. The young mother that she saw pushing the baby carriage, who had all the bottles inside the liquor bag underneath the stroller, that's in the show. And again, Beth's mother, who's just wonderful. I love the character of Alma so much. She's a high functioning alcoholic as well. You don't see her ever like disgustingly drunk and mean and a wreck, but she drinks very heavily. She drinks all day. We know that she drinks to excess. She's beyond a textbook alcoholic, but she is, and I'm not also saying that, alcoholism is good. And I'm not trying to suggest that we should all be high functioning alcoholics. I'm just saying, I like that this series showed us a side of addiction that is different. It's the side that you should probably still quit at some point for your health. No, not should. If you want to live a long life, you have to quit. If you want to live, your best life, you probably have to quit. But you can live a decent life and you can live a winning life and not quit. And that's tricky to say. And that a lot of people don't want you to say that. And then, well, whatever. But anyway, I loved that. I also loved, and I'm going to just go with the Alma. I'm going to go with Beth's mom. I loved the relationship, the mother-daughter relationship between the two, because it was never stereotypical either. Now, Beth, as you know, was adopted, and she was adopted as a teenager by a woman who we find out some very vaguely that she had a daughter about the same age who died. And then she adopted Beth. Her husband never really wanted to do it. Her husband left her. And so Alma's left without a husband in this, now she's like a housewife that's not a wife and doesn't really want to be in the house. So, what does she do? Again, as Megan said, there's, so many in the 50s and 60s that had this, she had all this talent with piano and she was clearly a smart woman, but she just didn't know what to do with it because she had spent all these years as a housewife and had, as a housewife that drank a lot. So she, adopts this daughter, and she wants this daughter to go and join these social clubs that, are all about for girls and friends and clothes. And Beth doesn't want to because she is a chess player. And, this is an interesting comment that Raggedy Orphanage made the kids young drug addicts. Exactly. It highlights the history of how the system medicated and still medicates its children in its care. Absolutely. Those girls were medicated, so they would be sedate, so they would be no trouble. And that was absolutely disgusting, and it still happens, and we know that. And it completely takes away personality. It takes away passion. It takes away, everything that's signature and beautiful about a human being. It rubs it away until they're just like, bleh. So that I completely agree with that comment. But the relationship between Alma and Beth as mother-daughter is so interesting because when Alma realizes that Beth is so good at chess, because she doesn't know this right away when she adopts her, because she's already a teenager and she's already great. She doesn't know that she's as good as she is. And she starts to win competitions and she starts to see. And Beth tells her mom, hey, I can make $500 if I go here. I can make $1,000. I can make, if I win this competition, we're set. You get the feeling that the mother is going to take advantage of the situation because her husband left her, because she's broke. You get the feeling that she's going to become her manager and she's going to be a terrible person. And also because she's not her real mother. I'm an adoptive mother, so I hate that term. But, she adopted her. You think, right away, you think, oh, this is bad. This is bad. That is going to turn worse. She's going to take advantage of her. She's going to take all of her money. But that isn't what happens at all. Instead, she goes on these adventures with her and she only takes a fair percentage. She does act as her agent. And she really wants the experience of going to these places that she's never gone to. And she has romance. And she develops a true loving relationship with her daughter, who's also her friend because they're old enough and close enough in age, and she's not a little girl anymore, that they can do that. And it's not creepy or traumatizing. It's good. They're friends and it's good. And the relationship the two of them have together, I thought was just absolutely beautiful. And, when we lose Alma, I felt that was one of the saddest, strongest moments in the entire show. And I might be biased again, being an adoptive mother, but that's not something we see in a narrative in a show very often. We don't see that teenage girls get along with their mothers because most of us didn't, but many of us did. And many of us are now more than ever kids now because they're being raised differently. But also we as adoptive parents need to see more narratives where it doesn't turn into the evil stepchild story or, the the adopted kid that's loved less than the biological kid, or the adopted kid who gets into lots of trouble because he's adopted, and everyone on the block knows, oh, well, Ralph's adopted, that whole thing. That doesn't really exist anywhere as much as it's been made out to exist in the media. And so we need more examples of that not existing, of successful adoptive relationships. I absolutely love that. Frankie, my arm's falling asleep, but she's really digging this. I don't know if you can tell, but I mean, she's like totally like, she's like with all of you. Finally, though, I wanted to ask the question if anyone thought that Beth was objectified. If anyone thought that that we really only loved watching Beth and watching her win all these chess tournaments because she was pretty, because she was beautiful and glamorous, and because she had those huge eyes, widespread eyes, and the Rita Hayworth hair, and the silhouette, beautiful hourglass figure, and all the clothes. I mean, what if she was just kind of the equivalent of, like, a girl in a flannel in a coffee shop, 1995, just like not really, but also really good at chess. Like, would we have been as into it? Did they gratuitously create scenes where she was too sexy, over sexy? Well, there's scenes of her in her underwear. There's scenes of her, there's some boob shots, whatever, but was it too much? Did it detract from the show? Were they, by any chance, taking away from the theme? Were they taking away from the meat, from the important parts of the show about women, and women being strong, and women being powerful, and women not having to be nice, because Beth was not nice, and I loved that about her. She could be very mean. And some people say yes, that it did take away, and that they didn't like the show that much, and they felt like it was just another show where, there's this, a skinny hot girl that wins everything, or that is, overly, people are just more interested in her because of her appearance. And I gave this thought, and I decided for me, it didn't bother me. I thought that beauty and aesthetic beauty was so much a part of all of the Queen's Gambit that it worked for me. I think that they definitely took beauty into account with the people, with the decor, with the story, with the travel, with every detail, even the way that Beth's hands moved across the chessboard. It was so graceful, and they were floaty and beautiful. Everything was so gorgeous that I just thought that Beth's beauty was a part of a fuller beauty that was Queen's Gambit. And Carolyn agrees with me. She says, I don't think it took away. They certainly did that, but it didn't bother me either. I can definitely understand the perspective for women that did feel that way. But again, I just felt like it was just a really, really beautiful show. And the beauty was part of the escapism. The escapism is what we need. The message could not be more right on. It's not stereotypical, but yet it is completely woman-fueled. It is completely different story, especially a story about a woman from that period of time when so many women were trapped, literally. Megan, my favorite part was watching her learn that her life wasn't the wreck she thought it was. Learn she had support from friends. Learn she had adult advocates and parent figures all along. Learn that there was life after winning and being perceived as perfect. Beauty was interwoven throughout, but the real beauty was what she learned. Absolutely. I completely agree. And again, that ties into the whole thing that learning is appreciated in Queen's Gambit. Intellect, smartness, growth, these are all themes that are important and celebrated in the Queen's Gambit that we don't feel are celebrated in life, right now very often. Michelle, I loved the fashion in the sets. It reminds me of pictures from my parents' trips before I was born. Absolutely. I'm right there with you. I have a tendency to feel nostalgic for times that I wasn't even alive for. And mid-century is definitely one of those. Like, I feel like such a strong nostalgia. Like, I want to go back there, and I kind of have to remind myself I was never really there in the first place. But yet it's just this yearning to go there, I guess. But it's more than that. I loved the fashion in the sets. Oh, we got that one. No, her beauty didn't bother me at all. Her brilliant mind intrigued me the most. She did, Diane. She had an extremely brilliant mind. And the way that she was even able to play chess in her head and to transpose that chessboard onto the ceiling, I just was absolute. Like, her brain works in a way that I can't even begin to comprehend, in a visual way that I was just so floored by. It was beautiful. I felt like they missed an opportunity to maybe have her teach the young Black girl, and then actually growing up and supporting each other more often than they did up until the end part where they brought her back. Otherwise, the Black girl was all the way out of place because they wouldn't have had Black kids in there with them during that time frame. Historically correct. Yeah, some of the details kind of fell apart, and I wonder if it's like they ran out of time. But I wanted more. All of a sudden she returns, out of nowhere. I kind of even had to remind myself who she was when she's at the door all of a sudden. And then she doesn't. I mean, it's really cool. She loans her the money so she can go and win the title in Moscow. But we could learn so much more about her, and her relationship could have. She tells us that she had been following her all these years and reading about her in the papers. They didn't show us that. They just told us that. And so we didn't get to see that relationship develop. And the end would have been even more powerful had we seen that relationship develop as, it went along. It was still good, though. Absolutely. The criticism is necessary just for us to have a full conversation. But the reality is that this is a gem of a show. This is a show that I would recommend to just, anyone that's at least a teenager, first of all, into, whatever, end of life, men, women, everybody, dogs. Frankie loved it. It's so wonderful, and it's so what we need right now. The timing could not be better. The timing is everything. So good, said Megan. It is. And I have not read the book. It is based on a book that was written in 1983, a novel. And I do plan to read that. I am old school, and I get my books from the library still. And I do have it on request, but it's very popular, as you might imagine. So it might take a little while to get it, but I can wait. I have a stack of other books I need to get to anyway. I also read that chessboards are back on the top gift of the holiday season this year, and they haven't been in decades. And so that's really exciting. And I hope a lot of those chessboards are going to girls. Of course, my sons both play chess. One of my sons is an excellent chess player, and he's in chess club. And when I've gone to chess games, mostly boys in the chess clubs and the chess games, I love to see a woman playing chess. Now that's sexy to me. Again, Angelique, I appreciate it because my late father was a chess master. Ooh, interesting. Even in his latter days, undergoing treatments at the VA hospital shows how their brains work when strategizing on that level. Absolutely. Yeah, you must have had a lot of feels, especially like when she went and played with the older men at the end, in the town square, on the sides of the street, out in the street. I can't imagine how you must have felt seeing that and remembering your father. So thank you for sharing that. I like that the men respected her talent and wanted to help her too. Yes, I loved that. There's no predatory behavior. She's not abused by any of the men mentally or physically. There's no Me Too moments in the Queen's Gambit. She is. They're very competitive with her. They're very jealous of her. They're skeptical of her. They don't want to believe she's as good as she is. But once she proved herself, they were in awe of her, and they shook her hand, and they said kind things to her, and they learned from her, and they told her that they were learning from her. And again, the learning is such a theme in the Queen's Gambit, and it's so celebrated and so wonderful because learning is so important, learning every day. And that men were learning from a woman, and it was that obvious. It's just, again, it's something that happens all the time, but not something that appears in television, in series all the time. And it was really wonderful to see, and to see those honorable men just stand up and lose, and lose like men. You know, they had to give that woman her props. Angelique, I couldn't believe she circled back and dated the crusty mouth man, especially because she was grossed out and called him ugly earlier. Right? Well, yeah, I don't know. The heart changes, right? Sometimes we just see someone in a new light. I don't know. It's I thought that, I liked that she had many numerous different romantic partners, but it wasn't, again, none of them came before Chess. Chess was her true love, and I think always will be, even though I think she did see there's more to life. Maybe if she had a child someday, maybe, I don't know, maybe her relationship with a man would turn that way. We don't know where it was going. It seems like she would be more capable of that based on what she had learned by the end. But at the same time, some would say that we have one true love, and for her, I wouldn't be surprised if Chess was the love of her life. Even if she went on to love other things, the love of her life. I absolutely adored the Queen's Gambit. I really am excited to talk about it. I'm excited that all of you watched it. Do we know if it will be renewed, or was that it? Excellent question. I don't know. I would think that that's the end, because it's the end of the book. However, now I'm thinking, well, Handmaid's Tale, Margaret Atwood's book that's based on, ends after the first season. And, they've done multiple seasons after that, which Margaret Atwood has been involved in, and have been very, very good, even though it's gone in a totally different direction. But I don't know. And if anyone knows, please write in. But otherwise, I kind of always feel this way, because I did feel this way with Handmaid's Tale too. I wanted it just to be over because I loved it so much. I didn't want it to get ruined. But Handmaid's Tale, again, has been so good that I love having more. And I'm glad it went on, even though originally after season 1, I was kind of devastated that there was gonna be another season. But now I'm really glad that there was. As of right now, there are no plans for the Queen's Gambit to have another season, and there's a very simple explanation as to why. The Queen's Gambit is also based on a book which has no sequel. For those reasons, it's unlikely that there will be any additional episodes. That's from popculture.com. Although I did just debunk that by saying, hi, Handmaid's Tale, based on one book, ended exactly like the book ended in season 1, and yet went on, I don't know, is it in the 4th season now? I kind of lost track. I've watched them all, but who knows? I'm on the fence about whether or not I want there to be any more Queen's Gambit, but I'm not on the fence about telling people to binge watch it. And I think over the holidays, a lot more people are going to have the chance to watch it, and we're going to be seeing more and more and more commentary on it. And I'm just really glad that we had this opportunity tonight to get our commentary in on it, and have this really lively and fun conversation. And everyone that chimed in, I really love what everyone said, and it was just really thoughtful. People are clearly here in this conversation. So thank you for coming. Yep. It is what it was. It was what it was, and you're okay with it, and I'm okay with it. I'm reading another comment, and it was great. So I guess with that, we'll sign off and say, just have a great night. Now, if you're like me, you're welcome. Thanks for bringing up this topic. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you, Megan. You're welcome. And thank you. For me, the only thing is, what do I watch next? Nothing is going to compare. The bar is too high. I did watch The Good Lord Bird on Showtime, which is the story of John Brown. Nothing to do with Queen's Gambit, but excellent. Very good. I will say that. But I do want more. I want to watch more TV with women as the main characters. I want to read more books with women as the main characters. I want all that, and I'm waiting for the next thing that's gonna just melt my face off like the Queen's Gambit did. So here's to melting off faces, people. May it happen more frequently than it does.